Hello everyone, hello, hello, welcome to the stream, hello, hello. Hello, hello. This is going to be the last part, so this is part 3. This is going to be part 3 of my Stellar Blade ink pen and watercolor drawing, watercolor painting. So, I think today I'm going to do some of the background and that way it's going to bring everything together. So I'm actually going to use some watercolor paint that are in small compartments. That's going to be cool. All right. Here I have my water ready. Several different right, so I'm setting up everything. I do have this large watercolor palette with different ranges of colors. So I do need this because I do want a little bit more variety in the orange that's going to go in the background just to give it a bit more color in the entire drawing. So all right, let's. For these, I will be using a bit more of my traditional brushes as well. I do have my towel ready right here just so I won't spill anything. I have 2 towels ready just in case I need to do any type of corrections. All right. All right. So I'm going to put everything away that I do not need for now. So I have been using these watercolor pencils right here. But I feel like I need to cover a little bit more ground. So I'm going to use these watercolors just because it's going to be a little bit easier to cover everything that I do need. I'm going to move all this to the side. Have my water ready. And I feel like I'm going to add a little bit of an orange. All right, so let's get some of this wet, and I'm just going to be painting the background. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. So I'm going to wet my see, hopefully I'm not blocking anything so far. All right, so all right, so let's paint this entire background just with a little bit of I'm going to start off from the middle and go out. So let's do it with the very light orange. Let's see if this is enough to... Okay, this is a good medium toned, more of a yellow, but this is perfect to start off in the middle. I'm going in very light for my first coat. If you do look at the not fan art, but the official artwork for the game, there's a lot of nice oranges in the sky, kind of simulate that desolate look of civilization of the game. And one of the fan arts that you actually see right here on the bottom left of the screen, down here on the bottom left, you can see those nice oranges and yellows, which looks pretty cool, and it's a nice contrast to the dark leather type clothing that she has, and also the green as well. So that's a pretty cool contrast to have that warm versus cool. Right now I'm just fanning things out, not making it. And then in a bit, I'm also going to add a little bit of the yellow on her clothing so that she easily blends in with the background, or at least that she's a part of the background as well. Because a lot of the colors are absorbed from backgrounds onto the skin, as you can see in the artwork that you see on the screen as well. All right, so right. And I'm actually a little over 12 hours into the game. And man, so far the environments are super detailed. There's one environment that looks pretty sick because it's more of a wasteland and just looks so cool in contrast with all the futuristic, yet almost like destruction of the world. And it still looks modern yet futuristic at the same time, but just run down, which is pretty cool. And I think I'm at a point too. I think I'm 12 hours in, so I'm at this point where I'm also in this desert area, which is a cool contrast as well. Some nice warm oranges against the sunset as well, especially in the beginning of the game, where there's palm trees and then there's just destruction going on everywhere. And so if you haven't already checked it out, I do have a part one and part two. So part one focused mainly on the ink and process, where I inked everything with the where I drew everything first, and then I used micron ink pens to give it that nice outline with the black markers, black ink pens, which is usually the style that I like to do most of my artwork with. And then part two, focus with the part of the color pencils, the watercolor pencils, and then blending that in with water. And this one, I'm gonna kind of just refine everything by using this watercolor palette and some of those pencils again to give it the final look, the final richness of the colors. And by the way, I do need to get my phone. This is where I do have my this is where I do have my reference photo of Eve. And now when I do go into the bodysuit, like for example, if I zoom in, I do zoom in, she does have a nice glow on her hip, her butt area, her hands, and the edges of her skin and suit. It's going to add a nice orange, where I'm just going to focus on a little bit of an orange. All right, so so far so good. I'm liking the way that this yellow's looking. Now I know for a fact when I do go and paint some of the body that I want it to be super subtle. So okay, so I'm gonna go in with my larger brush and just go in with water and just kind of blend all of this together and see how that looks like. Hopefully this paper holds up, which so far it has, but I know it's gonna warp just a little because watercolor paper will always warp no matter how thick it is. I'm gonna try not add so much water. For example, right now it's actually bending a little bit, but it will go back for the most part as it's drying as well. And what I'm doing is diluting the paint that's already on the paper and just pushing it out to the left. And pushing it outwards onto the paper, onto the page. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just pushing it outwards and just kind of blending it out because I'm not going to paint all the way towards the edge of the paper. It'll draw the focus all on Eve. Okay, so far I do like how that looks like. I'm liking that look. Okay, now I'm gonna choose a nice orange. Right, so I'm going to choose a nice orange to all right, so okay, as that's drawing, I'm going to choose a nice subtle orange. Hopefully I'm going to dilute that very, very well. Okay, so this one's still too yellow. All right, so I do have a test paper right here that I forgot to have next to me. So I'm going to test out some of this. And that's actually a little bit too yellow. Now I'm going to go for the real dark orange. Yeah, that's the one I want. That's the orange that I needed. So I'm going to zoom into my reference photo and start with their face. And kind of go in for the hair. And you know what? This has a little bit too much white in it, so I'm going to go in for this darker. I'm going in for the darker orange right here. Let's see if this is better. So I'm going to try and go as subtle as I can. And now I'm actually liking how that's orange is bringing everything together. I'm going to zoom in. So I'm going in light because I don't want it to go so heavy just yet. So just by adding this orange, it's bringing her into the environment in the background. And now it's giving it a bit more cohesive look. And again, her suit is absorbing the colors of whatever environment she's in. So and in a bit, I'm going to go ahead and add some more green into her entire suit because it's missing all of that. It's really missing a lot of rich green, the dark green as well. I'm going to add a little bit of orange into the gloves as well. Okay, so that's really bringing it together now for sure. And adding a little bit more into the areas where the light is actually touching. And add a little bit more into her skin. All right, cool. So I like the way that it looks on her hair. Okay, now I'm going to go in for some of that green. I'm going to go in with my smaller detailed brush right here. And let's get that green popping, especially on her leg area. All right, so. And by the way, what do you guys think of the controversy of everything that's going on? With the whole Stellar Blade, Free Stellar Blade, it's hilarious, all of that stuff that's going on. Hilarious. The entire controversy of her being way too sexy, which is hilarious. All right, so let's paint her leg. I'm gonna go for a nice vibrant green. Let's see what that does. I think it might be a little too white or too opaque, but we'll see. So this is gonna add a nice highlights to these areas right here. So this was much needed in the green department. All of these small details. And the glove definitely needs a darker green as well. Okay, now I'm going to go for a super dark green and let's see what that does. So let's see what this dark green. Oh yeah, this is the green that I needed. And I'm painting right on top of that black that I kind of just painted with marker, and that's really going to blend in nicely to give it that deep, rich black shadow. Okay, so that's a nice green that it's adding. All right, now I'm going to try a different green. Let's see what this deep, deep green right here, that's going to do anything. Okay, now for this gray, let's see how I'm going to do that because there's a lot of white letters on her skin. So I'm going to go for a nice gray. That's a little bit more diluted as well. I think for this, I'm going to paint on the outside of the letters and hopefully that makes them stand out a little bit more. So far I'm liking how that looks. I'm liking how that looks like. At least the letters are showing up in her costume or her clothing, I mean. All right, cool. All right, so I'm gonna let that dry just a little bit before I move on to more of the detailed part in her. Actually, I can actually move into the sword area. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna zoom into her sword. I'm actually gonna go in with my Micron ink pen as all of that's drying up, or as that's drying out, actually. Might as well just start. And then a little bit, I'm gonna go in with my black paint, and that's also gonna give it that nice darkness that I need in some areas back again. So all right, so let's start getting into these shadows. Especially in her leg area. I'm gonna make the indentation of her calf just to add a bit more. That's what was need. That's what was missing. A little indentation of her calf. And I'm gonna add a bit more of these shadows, all of these detailed buckles that she has. That's what I feel like it's missing. So just me darkening these shadows is really making a nice contrast with all of those bright, warm colors. I'm gonna go back into the hair and add a little bit more of a darkness in there. I feel like it's missing some of that. Now I'm going to add a bit more of that gray back into her thigh area. I'm going back in with my orange again. Right now I feel like she needs a little bit more of a warm peach color back into her arms. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry out. I'm gonna zoom a little bit out. Now I'm really liking how that looks. Okay, so as I dried that out, I'm gonna see what I can improve on, but for the most part, it's going to be some of the shadows and those intricate details that I'm gonna go back in with my Micron ink pens. So, okay, so as that dries out, I'm gonna clean out these brushes and using the water to clean those out. Because if it isn't dry enough, I won't be able to get into those details with my Micron ink pens. So, okay, I'm gonna add some shadows in these buckles. All right, so Yeah, because this is still drying. It's not, these pens are not flowing the way that I want them to. Thing is still way too wet. Okay, now I feel like her face does need a little bit more, a little bit something, a little bit something. I think she needs a little bit of a pink, a white hue. I feel like I might have to add that with my Jelly Roll pen for all these white highlights. So now I'm just trying to soften her face a little bit. All right, so that's looking a lot better. I feel like once everything is completely dry, I can finally go back in with my Micron ink pen and do the last final detailed touches. Okay, so I am missing a little bit of detail in her little tie. It needs a little bit more green. Finish that up. A very small detail, very intricate detail. So let me see if I can add a little bit with my Jelly Roll pen and see if I can add some of these white highlights. Really gonna bring out some of those pure whites in. All right, so for the last touches, I'm gonna use my Jelly Roll pen and add some of these subtle white highlights in the areas that it needs. All right, and just these subtle highlights do add a nice contrast with the black. All right, and I think that is it. I'm only an hour in, but I think that's all I really needed to do was the background and some of those details in the green, the gray, and adding some of those oranges back into her skin tone. I feel like I might add a little bit of this yellow back in. Let's see how that looks like. Yeah, just a subtle yellow is gonna really, I feel like that orange isn't enough. So I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow into the bodysuit. That's really gonna make it feel like she's part of the sun, the background. I'm gonna add some of it in her hair as well. That looks a lot better. Okay, so I feel like it's complete. I feel like I can't do anything else with the details unless it's completely dry, and these ink pen markers do not glide easily when things are wet and they're damp. So because these are super tiny, they're very fine. There's just no way that these are going to glide when something is damp. So yeah, I think that's all that I'm going to do, and it's completely done. So stay tuned. In the next few days, I will have a time-lapse video and a tutorial on how I did this on my channel. So thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.